Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind us all that this pandemic is spreading like wildfire. We must all arise to fight this potent and invisible common enemy by adhering to the guidelines and protocols for COVID-19, which includes personal hygiene, social distancing. We must wear masks in public places, obeying the stay-at-home order, and reporting unusual illness to the authorities for investigation.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
Anybody who has indigenous herbal medicine or any invention is referred to Nigerian Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development.
COVID-19 Presidential Task Force raises alarm on increasing number of cases. Plans fresh strategies to contain spread.
Where we go into the community, wherever there is a death, we interview the immediate family, and it gives us a clue.
Fact-finding team arrives Jigawa State to investigate health challenges and profile solutions. Thank you for your support. President Muhammadu Buhari commends well-meaning Nigerians and organizations on the nation to fight COVID-19. Asks for more support. Plus, former governor of Abia State regains freedom as EFCC is set for fresh retrial on corruption charges against him. Good evening and welcome to the news at 9 on the NTA. I am Jumma Yusuf. As we join hands with the government to fight coronavirus in Nigeria, we at the NTA say we will overcome as a nation. Tonight, Hingino John Adams will be reading with me from Lagos. Thanks for joining us. We begin with the global update on COVID-19. Now, as Nigeria has recorded 107 deaths from coronavirus in 34 states and the Federal Capital Territory, as United Nations calls for an end to hate speech and anti-foreign sentiments amid coronavirus pandemic. Let's join Adebola Brooks and Sunday for update on COVID-19.
Tally from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control shows that Nigeria now has 2,818 active cases of coronavirus disease from 3,526 confirmed cases, with 107 deaths recorded. There is no changes from the chart as Lagos, Kano, Borno, Gombe states and the Federal Capital Territory maintain their position on the top of the table, while Ebonyi, Benue, Imo, Abia and Anambra states are at the bottom of the log. So far, Kogi and Cross River are the two states yet to record a case on the NCDC tally. Meanwhile, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has said some 19,000 low-risk prisoners will be released before the expiration of their sentence to help curb the spread of coronavirus in correctional facilities. South Africa currently has 8,232 confirmed cases with 161 deaths and 3,153 recoveries. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for an all-out effort to end the tsunami of hate and xenophobia sparked by the novel coronavirus pandemic without naming specific countries. In a statement, the UN chief said anti-foreigner sentiments, conspiracy theories have surged online and on the streets. Globally, 3,954,826 persons have been infected with COVID-19, 271,995 deaths, and 1,361,994 recoveries as at 6:40 p.m. Nigerian time on the Johns Hopkins University Coronavirus Disease Dashboard. I am Adebola Brookslyn Sunday. Thanks for your time.
And Ebola Brooks and Sunday with a global update. A team of experts from the National Center for Disease Control and the Federal Ministry of Health has arrived Jigawa State to assess facilities and other critical areas towards strengthening the state's response in the fight against coronavirus pandemic. The team will interface with the State Task Force on COVID-19 to identify health challenges and solutions aimed at proper coordination in combating the spread of the viral disease in the state. Mohammed Musa Askira has details.
The task before the team, according to the leader Nasir Sani Gorzo, is to identify areas of challenges faced by the state in the fight against COVID-19 and advise the state governments on the best way to tackle them. The arrival in the state followed a request for technical support by the state governor, Muhammad Badru Abubakar, from the Federal Ministry of Health to strengthen the state's capacity in the continuing fight against the dreaded viral disease.
Where we go into the community, wherever there is a death, we interview the immediate family, and it gives us a clue. Then there is a study that is related to burial grounds. That one gives us more of statistics with minimal details, but it gives us also a pointer into the community where to go. It gives us how widespread the problem is. It gives us the clustering of deaths where they are occurring and the frequency with which they are occurring.
Already the team has gone round medical facilities, isolation centers, among others, to see for themselves the state of things put in place to counter the spread of coronavirus pandemic in the state. The team acknowledged the state government's efforts in feeding over 7,000 Almajiri pupils in 5 local government areas that are affected by COVID-19 pandemic. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Kano state government has continued to provide additional isolation facilities as part of response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In the next few days, about 200 bed spaces will be put to use by the state technical response team. Abdullahi Mustafa tells us more.
This is the Abubakar Imam Urology Center, one of the secondary health facilities in Kano. It is being developed into an isolation facility by the state government as part of response to the rising cases of COVID-19. Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, during an inspection visit, assured that all necessary facilities and equipment will be put in place to make it fully functional.
We assure the people of Kano State will be able to pursue all contacts that are being identified.
Also inspected by the governor is the old Daula Hotel building, which has 100 bed capacity. Not only patients, the facility will be used to accommodate frontline health workers. Thereafter, the governor presented personal protective equipment to hospitals as part of control measures against spread of the virus among medical personnel. He flagged off the distribution at the National Orthopedic Hospital, Dala. The exercise will continue in all health facilities across the 44 local government areas of the state. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
Critical to its fight against coronavirus, the government of Bauchi is leveraging on its community engagement policy towards tracing suspected cases of COVID-19. Having met with religious and community leaders, it is believed that proper manning of the state borders is critical in the fight against coronavirus in Bauchi State. Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad reports.
Security agents, traditional and religious leaders, all these are key players in the community engagement policy of Bauchi State government's fight against COVID-19. With the resolution to step up sensitization, contact tracing and social distancing, stakeholders agreed that the partial lockdown order on the state be sustained.
I've gotten the buy-in of all the stakeholders, especially our security agencies and our traditional rulers, that the total lockdown of our borders will be enforced so that we will be able to curtail the community transmission.
With 96 active cases, Bauchi State now has 102 confirmed cases of coronavirus.
The next 1 week after we have provided some minimal support for the wearing of masks, we will make it mandatory for everybody conducting his or her business to wear masks.
Having repatriated 814 Almajris back to their various states, 7 out of the 38 received from Kano have tested positive for coronavirus. In Bauchi, Mahmoud Ibn Muhammad, NTA News.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has described the spike in the number of coronavirus cases in the country as worrisome, but assures that fresh strategies are being developed to strengthen the capacity of state governments to respond to the pandemic under one national response strategy. Chairman of the task force and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, stated this at the daily briefing in Abuja. Mitere Ikpen tells us more.
At this briefing, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 did not overlook the NCDC report of 381 confirmed cases of coronavirus on Thursday, 7th May, which so far is the highest daily statistics. While attributing the spike to increased testing for coronavirus, the PTF acknowledges the need to step up capacity for isolation and treatment.
We have also received reports from the state which suggests that the treatment centers are running out of bed spaces. As we assess the situation, the Presidential Task Force shall also modify the strategies for care management and consider viable alternatives where necessary.
There were updates on enforcement of guidelines following the PTF's meeting with security chiefs.
Security agencies should always respect the fundamental rights of citizens during enforcement. Citizens should respect the sacrificial role of security agencies. All exempted persons, including journalists and medical personnel, should always carry a verifiable and authentic means of identification.
The Minister of Health says there is need to verify the status of Kogi State, which has no confirmed case yet.
We tried to send a team of the Ministry of Health and NCDC into Kogi State yesterday, but there were some differences there as to processes, which we mean that we need to re-engage the state governor again and work with him and his team to create the conditions for which the Ministry of Health and NCDC can complete their job.
We are appealing to the public to please stay within your current locations to stop the community and interstate spread of the virus.
Our disinfecting activities is for the whole nation. And if you remember from the beginning, we started with FCT and Lagos, Ogun, because at the time these are the high burden areas.
Nigerians in France who are asking whether they could fly to Cotonou and then come to Nigeria. If they can get to Cotonou, by all means, we would arrange for them to come into Nigeria.
Meanwhile, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 is working closely with the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development to ensure that food scarcity is not experienced in any part of the country. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
The Kogi State government has directed that the NCDC COVID-19 response team currently in the state to assist and verify its COVID-19 free status be isolated at the state quarantine center for 14 days in line with laid-down procedure. Governor Yahya Bello gave the directive while playing host to the NCDC members shortly after their arrival in Lokoja. Francis Udojo tells us more.
Governor Yahya Bello, while reeling out the recent measures in the state, said, having gone through the experience and effective control of Lassa fever and yellow fever, the government in its wisdom provided the people with relevant information and sensitization programs as well as medical equipment and guidelines that are in tandem with that of the federal government and the National Center for Disease Control in containing the spread of COVID-19.
Myself, my officials, our wives and children are in Abuja there. I told them nobody should come here to Abuja, to Lokoja. I am not going anywhere. I stay back there because it is part of the protocol. So we have to keep you safely in a quarantine and then other members of your team. But if it is not desirable, then you have options.
Dr. Noah Andrew led the NCDC team. The mission is to further strengthen the efforts by the state government to ensure that the positive gains in the fight against COVID-19 in Kogi State and the nation as a whole is sustained. Meanwhile, the NCDC team have been directed to go into isolation for 2 weeks before carrying out their testing and verification exercise. From the government house, Lokoja, Francis Udojo, NTA News.
As more custodians of the people's tradition lend their voices to government's effort to contain coronavirus, the chairman of Abuja Traditional Council of Chiefs, Eze Joseph Indubisi Umwabike, says people must be careful not to take the lockdown relaxation for granted. This was in an exclusive interview with NTA News in his palace.
As a custodian of the people's culture, who is also closer to the people at the grassroots level, the traditional institution plays a major role in passing down information. His Royal Highness Eze Joseph Ndubisi Nwabeke says he and his colleagues in Abia State have deployed several traditional means of passing down the message of the dreaded coronavirus to the people, including the use of town criers.
We are doing it, we are not relenting. We are doing it almost all the time because this virus is still here. It has not gone yet. It has come and it will go. But in the interim, let us do our own part by keeping to the rules.
The Eze urged Nigerians to adhere to the various hygienic and safety initiatives of government and the National Center for Disease Control, NCDC, to ensure that Nigeria does not experience what happened in Europe and the US.
Even in these villages where you come now, any compound you go now, you find, first of all, there'll be a bucket with tap and soap for you to wash your hand. We have sensitized the populace. In fact, in the inception, we had to engage the services of town criers who went around the whole villages and educated people.
He advocated continuous washing of hands, use of sanitizers, and suspension of functions such as burials, festivals, and weddings that would involve gathering of crowd. In Umuahia, Steve Lonai Nwaokolo, NTA News.
More to come on the containment of COVID-19 and all the reports. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
Mama, Uncle Kim just called me. His wife just gave birth. Hey! If you not be God, though, now who go do am? Now who go do am? I thank God. Boy or girl? I was too excited to ask. Let me get my phone and call him. Mama, it's a... Mama, what's wrong?
So, I no fit see my grandpikin now as dem do obodo oyibo.
Mama, I have a surprise that will cheer you up.
Introducing Sunday Data Plan. Enjoy Sunday browsing. 200 Naira gets you a whopping 1.25 gigabytes. Glow Unlimited.
Did you know that using bar soap and water protects against viruses? Many viruses are surrounded by an envelope with receptors that enable them to enter a human cell and cause infection. Bar soap destroys the outer layer of the virus and effectively removes it and reduces your chances of contracting the virus. Protect your family from the spread of viruses. Wash your hands using bar soap and water. Brought to you by Medifax and Dental.
25th February 2020, Nigeria. It is real. It is a nightmare. It is killing people all over the world. It is COVID-19. Compliance with the various states in Nigeria, the current measures will flatten the curves. Shutting down is not an act of wickedness, but an act to save lives. Stay home, stay safe. Observe social distance. Always put on a face mask while leaving your house. Make sure you are on a tricycle alone. Cars and buses cannot carry more than half their passengers. Always remember to wash your hands. Together, we will defeat COVID-19. This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibilities.
Action. Make your home the place to be with GoTV's super cool kids channels.
That sounds fun.
From funky friends that'll keep even the little ones busy.
All right, everybody, let's do this!
To learn as you watch educational shows for curious young minds.
You can do some amazing things.
There's plenty for everyone. Tune in to our kids shows and get everything you need to keep the kids entertained and learning the fun way. GoTV. Live it, love it.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Welcome back. President Muhammadu Buhari has commended public-spirited Nigerians and organizations for their financial and material support in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. Gofan Shaji packaged the report.
As the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 continues to roll out measures on how to manage the coronavirus pandemic and its economic implications, President Buhari has lauded gestures from individuals and organizations who are also helping in the fight of COVID-19 through their donations and provisions of isolation treatment and laboratory centers, while appreciating companies such as Alhaji Aliko Dangote, Alhaji Abdul Samad Rabiu, Guarantee Trust Bank, Disdain Newspapers and Partners, Dantata Property Development, Ocean Trust Limited, Abele and Annie Chicks Foundation, Nizamiya Hospital, Abuja, Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship, and Association of Bureau de Change, among others, in several states and the Federal Capital Territory. The president says the nation faces a national challenge and Nigeria must cooperate with the federal government to navigate the difficult course of containing the spread of the pandemic in the country. The president further urges all the privileged Nigerians and bodies to emulate these gestures, stating that all types of assistance are welcome, big or small. In Abuja, Gufan Shaji, NTA News.
The Coalition Against COVID-19 CACOVID has donated a 100-bed capacity isolation center to the Kwara State government to help in containing the coronavirus pandemic in the state. Raliat Ibrahim tells us more.
The isolation center is located at the state government-owned Sobi Specialist Hospital in Ilorin. While the buildings are provided by the state government, the Coalition Against COVID-19 provided the equipment needed by patients and health workers who will attend to them. The gesture is to ease the financial burden on state government created by the pandemic.
You should check what has happened globally. You see that we need to plan ahead of time. The cases in Kwara are not much, but before it gets to that level, we need to plan ahead and make sure that we are ready to take in people.
Kwara State being one of the very proactive government, we found it worthy to actually make our own contribution such that the state can be able to fight the war. Of course, our interest is the health and lives of the citizens of every state.
Kwara State government was represented by a member of the COVID-19 Technical Committee in the state to officially take over the facility. This is not all, as more equipment such as generating sets, refrigerators and other medical equipment are expected to be donated in the second phase of the program. Raliat Ibrahim, NTA News.
Coalition of Private Sector Against COVID-19 in Nigeria has donated drugs, medical items and personal protection equipment to Borno State government for use in isolation centers. Group Executive Retail Banking North First Bank of Nigeria, Shehu Aliu, presented the items to the Borno State COVID-19 response team led by the Deputy Governor Umar Usman Kadafur in Maiduguri, the state capital. Mohammed Ibrahim reports.
The Nigeria Private Sector Coalition Against COVID-19 is made up of organized business entities from banking, manufacturing and economic services sectors who made financial contributions to procure medical supplies to help prevent and stop coronavirus pandemic in the country. Group Executive Retail Banking North of the First Bank, represented by Fatime Jarma, while presenting the equipment, said the coalition represents effective public-private sector partnership to overcome societal challenges through quality care to COVID-19 patients and protection for health workers.
Organizations of private sectors include Dangote Group of Companies, Bua Groups, and we also have Femi Otedola. Atiku Abubakar is also one of the entrepreneurs there. This assistance is going on around all the states.
She maintained that the gesture is being replicated across the country and will soon be followed by donation of food supplies to ameliorate the sufferings of the vulnerable population due to lockdown. Borno State Deputy Governor and Chairman Response Team for Prevention and Control of COVID-19, Umar Usman Kadafur, expressed appreciation to the donors for the quantum support and spirit behind the gesture, urging others to emulate.
The most important thing is we're just trying to create a place whereby we have a lot of patients there, that they can be catered there, so they will be well kept there. If there's some symptoms that has medical challenges, they can now be moved to the main isolation center.
The Borno State COVID-19 response team pledged to deploy the items to existing isolation centers and a new one being set up to cater for the growing confirmed cases of the coronavirus pandemic across the state. In Maiduguri, Muhammad Ibrahim, NTA News.
A non-governmental organization, Coalition Against COVID-19, has donated 100 hospital beds and other equipment to the Ondo State government as efforts to the Infectious Diseases Hospital, Akure, for the treatment and management of COVID-19 patients in the state. Abiola Ario reports.
Individuals, non-governmental organizations and corporate bodies continue to obey the clarion call by government to support the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. The Coalition Against COVID-19 is one of such organizations. Presenting the items to the Ondo State Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, The representative of the coalition, Akimpode Akinola, said the items, which includes 5 bedside monitors, 25 oximeters, are geared towards helping those at the isolation centers recover quickly.
People are being infected, and one of the ways that we can also help to douse the effects of this pandemic is to provide an enabling environment for people that have been infected and even suspected people.
Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, represented by his Chief of Staff, Olugbenga Ali, expressed appreciation for the efforts of the coalition and enjoined the people of the state to continue to follow laid down directives in order to contain the spread of COVID-19.
This fight is far from over. We continue to mobilize more resources towards fighting this pandemic.
Ondo State has recorded 13 cases. 6 had been discharged, while the remaining 7 are said to be responding to treatment at the infectious disease hospital in Akure. Abiola Ario, NTA News.
The Committee of FCT Imams Initiative is appealing to good-spirited Nigerians to support government's effort in curbing the spread of the coronavirus pandemic through donations. This is coming at the flag-off of distribution of palliatives to the 6 area councils in the FCT through the support of the present administration of Mohammed Musa Bello. Hawagimba reports.
Some are going to Jua and some will be going
Chairman of the association, Tajuddin Adigun, in a press briefing there before the takeoff of the trucks to the 6 area councils in the FCT. He said these measures was to ease the sufferings of the less privileged in the area councils. Imam Adigun further called on well-spirited Nigerian Muslims to donate generously to the Muslim community and the FCT.
In the local governments, they are going to meet the committee of FC Imam of each of the local governments. And they are the ones who will receive them, and then who are the ones who are going to distribute them.
Leader of the Buhari Area Council, Chief Imam of Al-Habibiyah Islamic Society of Nigeria, Sheikh Fuad Adeyemi, while delivering the bags of food items to imams in Kubwa, advised them to ensure that the palliative gets to the people in the grassroots.
Those of us that Allah put in position to be in charge of this, we should be conscious of Allah.
Those who are here with me, we're going to sit down and then look at the areas and people. They want to be taken to Buhari area, they want to be taken to Dusi, and want that they will go into Kubwa here.
Food items donated include 300 bags of rice, 300 bags of beans, and 300 bags of millets. Hawagimba, NTA News.
As part of efforts to cushion the effect of the lockdown, more than 70 women groups have received consignment of food items from the Ministry of Women Affairs for onward distribution to the most needy. Momso Damien Dati reports.
These are leaders and representatives of various women groups from across Abuja gathered here to receive donations from the Ministry of Women Affairs.
The organization trusts you, and that's why that leadership is bestowed on you. I want to appeal to our conscience that in the name of God, let's ensure that all that has been received here reaches the most vulnerable in your organization. Those who have should still add more and give to the needy.
From religious bodies, social circles, civil society organizations, political bodies, and all are gathered here, over 72 of them.
On behalf of the masses and grassroots voters and needy, I say thank you very much to the federal government and through our Minister of Women Affairs. I give the needy and 2 ITB camp.
Beautiful. I wish other establishments and organizations will do the same.
There are families that have experienced battles between husband and wife, family unrest. Many families live by the day.
I want to appreciate Mr. President that even though as we've been locked down in the house, he remembered the women, he remembered the families, he remembered the nation.
Momso Damien Dati, NTA News.
And 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. is the moment of freedom of movement in the FCT for now, to control the transmission of the dreaded coronavirus pandemic. But during this period of free movement, a lot of things happen, especially on the outright disregard of rules and regulations. Francis Form tells us more.
Movement is free, but breaking the COVID-19 guidelines during that movement comes with a price. And the mobile court for swift adjudication of cases is lying in its makeshift mood.
This is Nyanya checkpoint, boundary between FCT and Nasarawa State. Right behind me is a combined team of the security men working together to ensure that the partial lockdown order is strictly adhered to.
Checking to certify whether they are fit to be on the road comes with gridlock and not lockdown. Being a boundary point between FCT and Nasarawa State, those embarking on non-essential interstate trips got it hard on the joint task force, and making a U-turn was the only resort.
It's not fair that we are here for over 2 hours. If they don't want people to pass, at least we are for essential workers, we are essential workers, so they should allow us to pass.
Over 2 hours.
Okay.
I have to come down from bike and start trekking.
Perhaps a little bit more clarity of what's going on. You know, if there's a lot more clarity of what's going on, then people can prepare for things like this. You don't just inflict hardship. I mean, what about spending 3.5 hours on the road? I'm on my way to work.
I don't know why the check is so strict.
In this situation, one's pain is another's gain. Long queues with loss of manpower, but it is a sacrifice to end the stay of the coronavirus in Nigeria soon. In Abuja, Francis Form, NTA News.
Leading by example is the idea behind the digital conference and prayer session organized by the Nigerian Interreligious Council, NIREC, conducted via Zoom conferencing. The main purpose of the weekly meeting, led by various religious, government and non-governmental leaders, is to promote unity amongst Nigerians of the dominant religions in the country. This week's Zoom conference, moderated by the Executive Secretary of NIREC, Reverend Father Cornelius Afebu, focused on joint prayers for God's intervention in the trying times of the coronavirus pandemic.
May intervene and put an end to the pandemic of COVID-19.
Allah, we ask you to spare our people, to spare not only Nigerians but the entire humanity.
The weekly meeting is also a platform for demystifying myth about COVID-19, promoting the right mindset and advocating a healthy lifestyle in order to defeat the virus.
Help other institutions and uniting community to respect rule of law, to respect government and the health authority.
And if you want to win a war of this nature, our prayers will be towards the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and heal individuals. We pray for people who are in isolation places at this time.
The national prayer is organized by NIREC, which is a voluntary association with 50 members from both faiths, in collaboration with the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the Nigerian Television Authority (NTA), and UFOC Dialogue Foundation. As efforts intensify to curtail the spread of COVID-19, traditional rulers have joined the trend to promote good hygiene practices to defeat the deadly disease. One of the latest traditional rulers to voice his opinion is the Ata of Igala. He spoke with our correspondent in his palace.
Wash your hand thoroughly. Don't shake. Stop shaking. You can avoid shaking for a while. It doesn't make any reason. You can just raise your hand and wave to people and run. They should all obey all the hygiene rules that the government tells us, and we should keep our distance. Don't move from village to village, spreading it like that. It's for us to take it very seriously.
President Muhammadu Buhari warmly felicitates with elder statesman Chief Alabo Tonye Graham Douglas on his 81st birthday, joining family members to celebrate the renowned leader who served the country as minister in 4 ministries, 1989 to 2001. The president salutes Chief Graham Douglas for the many sacrifices in promoting good governance in Rivers State, working assiduously as a commissioner for youth, sports and culture before moving to the federal level to serve as Minister of Social Development, Youth and Sport, Minister of Aviation 1990, Minister of Labour and Productivity 1999, and Minister of Culture and Tourism 2000. President Buhari affirms that the former minister left enduring legacies in every position he served in government, particularly in aviation, where he oversaw the deregulation of the sector, making it more market-driven, competitive and accessible for local and international investors. As Chief Graham Douglas turns 81, the president believes his investment in encouraging good leadership, promoting democracy and sharing his wealth of wisdom and experience with younger political actors will always be remembered and appreciated. President Buhari prays for more strength and good health for the former minister. Time now to join Hingino John Adams in Lagos for more reports. Hello, Hingino.
Hello, Jummai. Another batch of 253 Nigerians who were stranded due to the coronavirus pandemic have arrived the country via British Airways. Michael Olale reports that their arrival coincided with the evacuation of more British citizens from the country.
This is the second time in a week the Murtala Muhammed International Airport will come alive in the midst of the total ban on flight operations. Another 253 Nigerians have just arrived and they are not making their final stop here, but will be airlifted to Abuja by these waiting Air Peace aircraft. This became necessary in order for them to observe the mandatory 14 days self-isolation as directed by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. At the center of this evacuation is the British Airways aircraft 9155, which has made its journey to the United Kingdom with British citizens, their spouses and dependents who were stranded due to the COVID-19 lockdown.
Well over 4,000, 5,000 citizens stuck here, and there is no way, with due respect, life can't be normal.
This is the 8th chartered flight the United Kingdom has deployed since the repatriation exercise began in Nigeria, and a demonstration of greater cooperation between the two countries.
We've sent home so far close to 1,500 British people needing to get back home, so we're really pleased with that effort. But then today, particularly happy that we're also helping the government of Nigeria to repack Nigerians back to Nigeria as well.
With the arrival of these Nigerians, the country has successfully evacuated 509 persons from the 4,000 citizens who had indicated interest to return to the country. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
Lagos State government says it has commenced local manufacturing of chemical reagents used for COVID-19 testing to ramp up trials in the state. The State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, during a press briefing on the update of COVID-19 in the state, urged residents not to panic as most confirmed active cases are mild and less severe. Nososla reports.
The Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, who disclosed that clinical trial for hydroxychloroquine will commence soon, said the virus is expected to reach its peak around July and August this year. He added that the aggressive approach by the state has slowed down the rate of infection of the virus in the community.
Our model suggests that by July, we're going to see somewhere between 90 to 120,000 positive cases.
Speaking on his COVID-19 status, the Commissioner for Health said he has not performed any test recently as he has no underlying symptoms to warrant testing for coronavirus disease, and he is hale and hearty and continuing in the fight against COVID-19.
Please reach out to our helplines 08000 Corona and the Eco Telemedicine. You can get free consultations online and you can be directed to where you can get help.
We've gotten calls, we've gotten SMS coming in from our people telling us how people have been coming in. The simple answer to this is just to tell you that we are returning them.
The Commissioner for Information added that Neighborhood Safety Watch has been placed around border areas in the state to curb interstate entrance at this time. In Lagos, Nusa, Usula, NTA News.
Africa's leading cement manufacturer, Dangote Cement PLC, has donated 25 operational vehicles to the Ogun State Trust Fund in Lagos. While speaking at the handing over ceremony, the independent non-executive director, Emmanuel Ikazobo, says the donation is a way of promoting and ensuring adequate security in Ogun State.
The Ogun State Security Trust Fund is saddled with the responsibility of maintaining security and welfare of citizens. As a company with security and well-being of its host communities at heart, Dangote Cement PLC donated these 25 fully equipped GAC saloon cars with security features to the Trust Fund to aid its efforts towards crime prevention and quick response to emergencies.
I hereby we partner with Ogun State, and we've invested so much in that state, and they have been very cooperative. We've been working in partnership with them to develop the state. So we need security for development, and that's why we're donating these 25 vehicles to assist the police and the security agencies to achieve that.
While receiving the cars, the Executive Secretary, Ogun State Security Trust Fund, Okpayemi Agbaje, commended the company for keeping its promise with optimism that the cars will assist the trust fund to up its ante in maintaining law and order.
It will go a long way in assisting His Excellency and the government and people of Ogun State in maintaining security.
Dangote Cement PLC is urging other corporate institutions to join in providing necessary operational tools to ensure adequate security for the country. In Lagos, Imole Ayotokide, NTA News.
That's it from Lagos. We now take a break. The news continues shortly.
Mama, Uncle Kim just called me. His wife just gave birth. Hey! If you not be God, though, now who go do am? Now who go do am? Hey, I thank God. Boy or girl?
I was too excited to ask. Let me get my phone and call him. Mama, it's a... Mama, what's wrong?
So, I no fit see my grandpikin now as dem do obodo oyibo.
Mama, I have a surprise that will cheer you up.
Introducing Sunday Data Plan. Enjoy Sunday browsing. 200 Naira gets you a whopping 1.25 gigabytes.
Glow Unlimited. Our smiles have never been so uncertain. This weekend that seems to regenerate. We never imagined missing the music of our office printer. That time stopped does not mean our stories have. We are the brave ones that set aside self-interest for a common goal. One day, we will toast to this bravery in our favorite restaurants. Arm in arm, we will sing at every concert and never skip a beat. One day, we will reclaim our streets from the wildings that have borrowed it. Take back our fields from the bush that have rented it. We will discover new places. The grey clouds will roll away, and the sun will shine. Together, we will beat this and rebuild our economy. Till then, hold your position and stay safe.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
Alpha, say tomorrow still day on.
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they here, Abi?
Now beggy. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go no.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If you want to elect a new secretary, we fit
do one for WhatsApp or for Skype or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate
this social distancing. It is non-negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akin Fateh Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Good to know you're still there. Foreign ministers of Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, Slovakia and the United States have paid tribute to the victims and soldiers who fought to defeat Nazi Germany and put an end to the Holocaust on the 75th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. A statement by the assistant to the ambassador of the Republic of Poland, Eni Henschel, indicates that for many decades, numerous Europeans from the central and eastern part of the continent sacrificed their lives, striving for freedom, as millions were deprived of their rights and fundamental freedoms, subjected to torture and forced displacement. The events of 1956, creation and activities of the Charter 77, the Solidarity Movement, the Baltic Way, the Autumn of Nations of 1989, and the collapse of the Berlin Wall were important milestones which contributed decisively to the recreation of freedom and democracy in Europe. The statement further adds that the nations are working together towards a strong and free Europe where human rights, democracy and the rule of law prevail. The future should be based on the facts of history and justice for the victims of totalitarian regimes. We are ready for dialogue with all those interested in pursuing these principles. The foreign ministers also reminded all members of the international community that lasting international security, stability and peace requires genuine and continuous adherence to international law and norms, including the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states. One amongst the most wanted kidnapping gang leaders operating in Benue State has been killed by troops of Operation World Stroke. A statement by the Coordinator Defense Media Operations Major General John Eneti indicates that the criminal is alleged to be responsible for several kidnapping, armed robbery and assassinations around Katsina Ala, Okum and local government area of the state. Major General Eneti notes that troops deployed in Zaki Biam for raid operations eliminated the criminal in the encounter and recovered arms. The Supreme Court set aside the judicial processes that led to the conviction of the former Abia State Governor Orji Uzor Kalu for corruption. In a unanimous judgment, the Apex Court held that the conviction was inconsistent with the Nigerian Constitution. Olabode Arewa reports.
In her judgment, the presiding Justice Amina Adamu Ogie, said the President's Court of Appeal erred in law when she granted leave for Justice Mohammed Idris to return to the Federal High Court in Lagos and conclude Orji Uzor Kalu's corruption trial. The Apex Court subsequently directed the Chief Judge, Federal High Court, to reassign the case to another judge for a fresh trial. The appeal was filed by Ude Jones Idiogu, a former finance director, Abia State Government House, challenging his conviction and imprisonment along with ex-governor Orji Uzor Kalu. While Orji Uzor Kalu was sentenced to 12 years imprisonment, Ude Jones Idiogu was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment.
The judgment that convicted them is null and void. There has never been any valid proceedings against them in the criminal trial, and as such, they are going to be released.
There is nothing we can say. The Supreme Court is final. Whatever the decision of the Supreme Court is, everyone has to abide by it.
They were both found guilty of 7.1 billion naira fraud. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the attention of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has been drawn to the judgment of the Supreme Court nullifying the trial of a former governor of Abuja State, Orji Uzor Kalu, his firm, Slok Nigeria Limited, and Jones Idiogo, a former director of finance and account of Abuja State government, and ordering their fresh trial at the lower court. In a statement by the head media and publicity, EFCC, Dele Oyewale, the Apex Court based its verdict on the grounds that Justice Muhammad Idris, who convicted Kalu and others, had been elevated to the Court of Appeal before the judgment and returned to the lower court to deliver the judgment, which it considered as illegal. The EFCC considers the judgment of the Apex Court as quite unfortunate, saying it is a technical ambush against the trial of the former governor. The Commission is prepared for a fresh and immediate trial of the case before its evidences against Kalu and others are overwhelming. The corruption charges against Kalu still subsist because the Supreme Court did not acquit him of them. We'll take another break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
And on a sad note, President Muhammadu Buhari condoles with members of his extended family and Daura community at large following the death of his nephew Alhaji Muttari Dauda, Malam Mamman Daura's younger brother. In a condolence message signed by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, President Buhari, on behalf of himself and family, convey his deepest sympathy to his extended family for the loss of Muttari Dauda. President Buhari says death is inevitable and every soul must taste death one day. What we owe the dead are not tears, because our tears can't bring them back, but what they deserve are our prayers. In this regard, the Nigerian leader notes that his heart and prayers goes out to all the family members and the Daura community as a whole over this irreparable loss. President Buhari prayed that Allah forgive his gentle soul and reward his good deeds with Al-Jannah Firdaus. Amen. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawal, has condoled with President Muhammadu Buhari over the death of his nephew Alhaji Muttari Dauda. In a statement by the Special Advisor to the President of the Senate on Media, Ola Awoni, Senator Lawan also commiserates with Malam Mamman Daura over the passing of Muttari, who was his younger brother. The Senate President said he shared in the grief of the entire Daura community, government and people of Katsina State over the loss. He prayed that Allah will give the family the fortitude to bear the loss. Two bodies burnt beyond recognition and vehicles were this evening consumed by an inferno from a diesel-laden tanker at Monia Garage in Ibadan. Larry Leye has details.
It was a sad development while people were going home to break the day's Ramadan fast at Monia area in Ibadan when a diesel-carrying tanker lost control and rammed into vehicles locked in a traffic jam and burst into flames.
The spillage has even affected about 13 or 14 shops beside the road here, and about 12 vehicles were burnt and 5 motorcycles. We even lost lives.
I was on my bike with my apprentice, so we were going to buy some materials. All I just saw was that the trailer, the brake of the trailer failed. So at the end of the day, when it's going into the pit there, it turns and the fire got out, and before we get to know it, the fire began to explode and everything got burnt.
As at the time of following this report, 2 persons have been confirmed dead, removed from the burnt vehicles. 14 vehicles were burnt beyond salvage, while rescue efforts are still ongoing. In Ibadan, Larry Bileyi, NTA News.
Quite a sad picture there. May the soul of the departed rest in peace. A quick look at the weather prospect is next. That's Network News tonight. Thanks for watching. I am Jumma Yusuf.
Emeka.
Ayo, Emma, what are you guys doing here?
We came to call you. It's football time.
No, it's still at home time. Haven't you heard of the lockdown for 2 weeks?
Lockdown? Of course we had, but that doesn't mean we can't football.
After all, we're neighbors. It doesn't affect us. It doesn't matter, Ayo. It is very deadly. And the best way to stay alive is to stay apart. Maintain good. Wash your hands regularly and sanitize. Keep a
Welcome. I'm Stober. COVID-19 is taking its toll not just on lives, but on livelihoods as well. Now, arising from the measures to beat the pandemic, serious consequences. How do you balance health with wealth when the working people are all but overwhelmed by a killer virus? COVID-19 has brought about the loss of millions of jobs worldwide, threatening economies and wreaking havoc on those infected and those not infected. My guest today is the leader of organized labor in Nigeria, the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress. Let's welcome Comrade Ayuba Waba. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Cyril. Good evening, and good evening, viewers.
It's a tough call, isn't it? What's happening? The pandemic. It's tough on not just lives, but on livelihoods. Let's start on that premise. We've seen lockdowns, we've seen restrictions, we've seen employers shutting down, we've seen threats to jobs. Millions of jobs have already been lost worldwide. And let's come back home to Nigeria. How is this pandemic affecting employment, jobs, livelihoods?
Well, it's really a challenging period globally. It's a global catastrophe that has affected both social and economic well-being of the people, but also importantly, the health of the people. And clearly speaking, even the best economies around the world have been affected. Emerging economies are also crying. The best health system around the world have also had a lot of challenges. And weak health systems, like in developing countries, have also exposed some of the inadequacies in our health system. Importantly also, the very scarce human resource in health have been overstretched in all the countries around the world. And Nigeria is not an exception. So clearly speaking, this is really a very challenging period. In the context of Nigeria, I think it's twofolded. One is the health challenge, which I think for now all of us are aware that many have been infected. We are trying to possibly work around over 2,500. We are approaching possibly 3,000. And also in the case of fatality, I think the fatality rate also have been on the increase. But importantly, I think is means of livelihood. There have been disruption in the socio-economic life of many Nigerians. And I think it will take a very long time before we return to normalcy. Jobs are being threatened and people are losing their job on daily basis. Let me start from the premise of appreciating what the CBN have just done to try to intervene and save millions of jobs in the banking sector. I think that is what is needed at this very important time. It must be people before profit. And clearly speaking, in the context of Nigeria, where you have more than 70% of the people working in the informal sector, the challenges will be so daunting because these are people that have to go out in the morning to find what to eat in the evening. You have also the class of people are referred to as the urban poor. Those are able youths